AITA for telling a stranger to not touch my baby. I have a sickly baby. He's 4 months old but is a late preemie as he was born at 35 plus 6 weeks. Since his birth, he's been in and out of hospital and has had multiple health issues. He was born with jaundice and ended up having an exchange transfusion to help clean the red blood cells. While I was waiting for an appointment for his surgery on his feet, bilateral talipes, he caught sickness bug off my oldest, 3M. I thought it was a cold but ended up taking him to hospital after 24 hours and it was RSV. I panicked as he was back in NICU for a bit. Now, he's on the mend and was discharged from hospital 2 weeks ago. I was going to shop with my kids when someone approached and struck up conversation about kids. I don't like talking to strangers anyway but was polite enough. This stranger then tried to put their hands on my new son. I told them nicely but firmly to not touch the baby. They ignored and did it anyway. I then moved quickly, baby and sling, and maybe shouted. I said don't touch my baby. This stranger then told me how disrespectful my generation is and how back in those days everyone did it and how I'm just going to raise disrespectful children. Telling me I'm just a kid having kids and that I shouldn't speak to my elders like I did. They reached out again and ended up brushing their finger against my baby's cheek and bottom lip. I was livid and really shouted, rather loudly, hands off my child. This person said that I'm an awful person to speak to someone like I did and then walked off muttering something I didn't quite hear. Now, we've just come out of pandemic and I don't know this person nor their hygiene routine and I don't want randoms touching my kids. I asked my friend if I'm Ta and she said I shouldn't have shouted, I am the Ta for doing that when I could have stayed calm. That the person is probably harmless and it's just how people are where we are, Lille County, South England, and it's normal here where it isn't where I am from. AITA? NTA. There is no reason a stranger ever needs to touch your baby. If they didn't listen the first time, raising your voice is not unreasonable. They are the one that was rude for not respecting your boundaries. NTA et al. I'm so sorry that someone made you feel uncomfortable in public. I don't know why this older generation feels so entitled. I'm currently pregnant and it's the older generation who gets offended when I put mandatory whooping cough vaccines in place when visiting my baby. Back in my day no one got sick. Babies are stronger than you think, it's infuriating. Even from the title you're NTA. No one, literally no one, has a right to touch your child. Let alone your very poorly child who's catching everything. And especially when they put their fingers on your child's mouth. Their hands could have been anywhere. If anything you were fairly nice about it. I would have been effing and blinding at her. I don't give a crap about all that, this generation stuff. We live in a world where germs are rife, and RSV is spreading like wildfire and killing babies. If she tried to grab my baby again after I told her no politely the first time, and she was blocking me to leave, I would have grabbed her hand and pushed her away. People act so entitled to pregnant mothers and babies and I have no idea why they think they can do it. NTA. I would never dream of touching somebody else's baby or child. I'm older generation. This isn't all of us. There's no excuse for touching babies, especially with us all being so much more informed about infection risks. It's also kinda rude, I think. AITA for telling my fiance's family that he's unemployed after they kept implying that I was a gold digger. So, my fiance, M33, comes from a well-off family. I, F29, come from a working-class family. My fiance's family are nice, but they can't help throwing comments at me about how I might be a gold digger. For example, if he buys me something they'll go, "Oh, Jason bought you that? You know what this looks like, right?" Or, "Wait, Jason paid for this?" Only gold diggers make their partners pay for stuff all the time, just saying. It's so demeaning and my fiance does nothing to stop it. Especially now that he's in a bad place in life after he lost his job. And since he's keeping it secret, then I'm the one paying for everything. This has been going on for 4 months. Last week, his parents invited us for dinner and he insisted that we go, so we went. At dinner table, his mom grabbed my hand, literally while I was eating, and looked at my bracelet and went, "Oh, this bracelet looks really nice. Did Jason pay for it?" I nodded and reminded her that he bought it for me as a birthday gift last year. She was like, wonder how much it costs. She then leaned back and said, "You know, I remember when my brother was dating this gold digger woman. She'd receive expensive stuff like this," pointing at the bracelet here for her birthdays. I was stunned. I cut her off and asked if she meant to say that I was a gold digger. She threw her hands up and went, "I mean, if the shoe fits," while laughing awkwardly. Silence took over. I looked at my fiance and he shook his head at me like, "What?" I snapped. I told her it was bold of her to imply I was a gold digger when I'm literally providing for her unemployed son, have been for 4 months now. They all looked shocked. She glanced at me in shock and his dad asked if it was true and my fiance just froze but looked so angry. An argument ensued and dinner was cut short and we had to leave after they started berating him. He had a rage fit in the car, just yelling and lashing at me. In my defense, I said that he sat by and let his mom continually imply that I was a gold digger, but he said that they never outright called me a gold digger, so it was all in my head. He said I still had no right to take advantage of his unfortunate circumstance, to get back at his mom and expose him to the family. His parents went on about how disappointed they were, and now as a result, he got disinvited from Thanksgiving. He blew up at me because of it this morning and kept saying I screwed him over so badly when he was just an innocent bystander. NTA, I think you should uninvite your fiancé from your wedding. He doesn't have your back. He's willing to lie to his family for months to protect his reputation. He's going to be willing to lie to you, too. And this won't be the last time he blames you for the faults and actions of himself and others. NTA, I have to ask, do you see a future with this guy? He has no loyalty to you and is content to sit by and let his family disrespect you. When they get angry with him, it is your fault. Imagine how much worse this dynamic will be if you have children with him. He will allow his family to treat you like shit and teach your kids that you are unworthy of respect and dignity. I'd toss him before he makes your life a misery. NTA, the abusive arsehole apple doesn't fall far from the abusive arsehole tree. The man that let his family repeatedly belittle you is the man you plan to marry. The man who abused you in a car for defending yourself from his abusive family is the man you plan to marry. Your fiancé's behavior is not okay. It's abuse. His family sound awful. Your future as part of that family sounds like a living nightmare. See these red flags for what they are and get the hell away from these people. AITA for calling the cops when my father lent out my car? My F32 father, 56, lives with me. After my mom passed away a few years ago, he had trouble dealing with life and I tried to help him out. I had a spare room and I said he could stay there. My siblings or I cleaned up my parents' house and we rented it out. With his 100% agreement. The money covers the mortgage and lets him contribute to my household budget for food and utilities. And he has a little money every month so he doesn't have to go into his savings or retirement funds. He could go back to work but he hasn't. I'm not a mental health professional but he won't go to one either. I think he is just depressed but I cannot make that diagnosis. I work from home and only occasionally meet clients for lunch or at their workplace. So my car usually sits for days on end. My father got the idea that I didn't really need a car for myself, and when my aunt's car broke down, he started letting her borrow mine. Without my permission, I told him that if he wants to lend out a car, he should lend out his. He drives a very nice full-size truck. He says that my aunt is uncomfortable driving it. I said that I didn't care and that I needed my vehicle to be available. He said that family helps family. I said my car was mine and not to be lent out. I spoke with my aunt and told her to stop asking for my car. He decided to test my patience. He trapped me in the garage with his truck and left the house one day that he knew I had a meeting. I had to Uber to the meeting. I was almost late. I was absolutely livid. When I got home, his car was still there, but my car was gone. My aunt had needed it for appointments. I told him that it's time for him to move out. He isn't just inconveniencing me now. He is actively sabotaging my job. He cried that he was sorry and wouldn't do it again. I gave him one last chance. I told him that it's time for him to move out. He isn't just inconveniencing me now. He is actively sabotaging my job. He cried that he was sorry and wouldn't do it again. I gave him one last chance. My car has a tracker in it because it's not paid off. It was easy to find. I, in the meantime, had turned off my phone and gone shopping. I was unavailable when everyone started calling me to tell the cops that my aunt has my permission to take my car. I feel bad for wasting the cops' time, and my family says my aunt was traumatized. My dad is moving in with her now. I did drop the charges and clear everything up. But my family is still mad at me. I am mostly mad at my father, but my aunt bore the brunt. NTA, your aunt knowingly took your car without asking your permission. That is your car, not your father's. I had to lol at, family helps family. Hello? You're putting your dad up and taking care of his affairs. He meant, op. I get to decide what you do with your possessions, even when you tell me no. Your father said he was sorry and wouldn't do it again. You set up a very simple boundary. He broke it again. So, what else were you supposed to think when your car has vanished? You've already played it his way. Wait until the car is returned. Then listen to him say he won't do it again. But then he does it again. Rinse and repeat. Frankly, I think you did the right thing. Your aunt is no innocent here. You told her not to use your car. Why can't she Uber to her appointments? Her schedule is not your responsibility. Now you have your car, and your dad is moving in with her. I'd say that's win-win. You've done way more than your share. You didn't waste the cops' time. Your car was literally stolen. Just because it was stolen from someone you know doesn't mean it wasn't stolen. You specifically told them both to stop taking the car. I wouldn't have dropped the charges, and I would have evicted father, but I've got no problem getting toxic people out of my life. Sit them both down and tell them that if they ever do this again, you won't drop the charges and you will evict him. NTA. Totally NTA. It wasn't like you haven't been patient. Your dad was trying to parent you by telling you that you didn't need the car that you bought and are paying for with your very own money. That car was not his to lend out and the key was not his to copy. Your aunt should have been smarter than to assume otherwise, but it seems as though neither of them have any respect for you, your property, or your feelings. To this, I simply say the tired and overused phrase, sorry not sorry. Since dad doesn't have a job, why isn't he chauffeuring his sister around instead of lending her something that's not his? So totally NTA, and if your family thinks you are, then maybe they should imagine how they'd feel if dear old dad had been doing this to them.